guys, it's Kristen. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing my December reading wrap up. So I ended up reading 8 books in total this month and then listening to 2 books on Audible because I went back home for the holidays and I listened to them on my way up because I was driving up there and it was like a 22-hour drive, and so I needed something to keep me company, and I wanted to do a video on whether or not I actually like audiobooks because I've never listened to them before. So that'll be coming out next month, so stay tuned for that video. But let me know what you guys think of the last couple videos that I've posted, because I'm learning a new editing software called DaVinci Resolve because Microsoft Clipchamp stopped wanting to upload any of my media to the timeline. I would upload the media for the media pool, and it would go through the process of uploading it and then it would just disappear and vanish. And I tried uninstalling, reinstalling different clips, I tried everything and it just wasn't working anymore. So I just decided to switch because it was going to be easier if I did that. So I did switch, and there's a lot more options now for when I put my text up, but it's also still a learning process. I can't just, it's not as intuitive as Clipchamp was, and a lot of my stuff that I put in, my stars and whatnot that you'll be seeing later on, I just copy and paste from PowerPoint, and I can't just copy and paste things into DaVinci Resolve. Everything has to be a photo and then you input it. So let me know how the videos have been looking so far, and I've also started doing subtitles. So some software, if you pay for the full version, you can get them to just automatically generate your subtitles, and I am not making any money for my YouTube channel, so I don't want to pay for that. I also didn't want to type everything out by hand because that's a lot, but I found a way to be able to do it, and it's taken me some trial and error to actually get it right on the video. So let me know if you guys have been enjoying having subtitles now too, because I personally am a person where, at least for movies and TV shows, I'll put on the subtitles even though I don't really need them, but I do. So let me know how those are going. But without further ado, let's get on to the books that I read. So the first book that we're going to talk about is War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. And so this is the last book in the Red Queen series, and I'm giving this one a 4. In this book, they go to Montfort, and you see that gay marriage is acceptable there. So they're trying to sway Evangeline over to their side and be oh, well, you should betray this alliance that you had to become queen because you can actually be with the person you want to be here. And there's they lost Piedmont because of some of the things that happened, and they end up making an alliance with the Lakelanders because they want to kill Maven, and they've always been planning to kill Maven pretty much regardless, but because he kind of killed the king essentially, that he doesn't need to be around anymore. So they make an alliance with the revolution, and they're using the techie slums to bring everybody down, and Maven's doing things to try and be oh, well, I'll get rid of the conscription age being so low and whatnot to try and bolster people back to him. But ultimately they end up killing Maven, but ultimately Mare and Cal don't end up getting together, which I guess is more realistic in terms of an ending of there not being a happily ever after, and they really can't trust each other, and he wasn't willing to give up his crown for her, and she wasn't willing to give up her beliefs to be with him. So I guess it's a more realistic way of ending the story. But I always hope that the love and the little relationship in the end prevails. Maybe it's because I'm a hopeless romantic at heart, but I ended up giving it a 4. It was a good book overall. Lots of action, lots of things happening in the last section of the book. The next book we're going to be talking about is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, and this is her first series that she ever wrote. And in this book, it is set in the times that Jack the Ripper was committing his murders in London, and we're following Audrey Rose, who is a lady of status, and the opening scene is a cadaver in the middle of a medical class being cut open, and it's her uncle who's performing the autopsy for these students to follow. And one, this scene is just really graphic. Two, her uncle's super creepy and weird in it, and it gives you vibes like no thank you. But I really like this book. I ended up giving it a 4. So Audrey is interested in forensic science, which at that time, of course, is kind of like a no, women can't do that. But she doesn't care. She does it anyways. She secretly helps her uncle in his basement laboratory with autopsies to learn, and her dad doesn't like it, and she starts the Jack the Ripper murders start occurring, and she starts helping the investigation with her uncle, and ultimately, like, they think that her uncle's the one who did it, so they throw him in the asylum, and like her dad is kind of a drug addict to opium, so he gets sent away, and so it's just her and her brother, and she ends up meeting Thomas, who's a student also working with her uncle, and he and her kind of have a well, they won't they kind of situation where like he's super sarcastic, and like I personally kind of think that he's a jerk in my opinion, but she has the hots for him for whatever reason, and so they kind of have a will they won't they situation in terms of like a love interest, and you follow her along on her journey of stalking Jack the Ripper and trying to figure out who the murderer is. And at one point I was like, is her murderer the brother? Like her brother? Because like this scene really makes me think that. And then like I went further and further on. Like I read further and further on, and I was like, oh no, like it must not be him. And then she ends up going into her father's study while he's away, and she ends up finding a secret laboratory behind one of the paintings. And when she was younger, she got, I think it's scarlet fever she got, and she was really sick, and her mom got it too, but she lived and her mom died, and it kind of changed the family dynamic completely from there. And you find out that in the laboratory is her dead mother, who's been dead for like 5+ years at this point, like very like dead and like rotting, gross. And her brother is Jack the Ripper, who's been doing studies to try and figure out how to bring their mom back to life. And I was like, 1, guessed it, hee hee. But 2, it was just insane, especially just the way it played out. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that. This is crazy. Like, it just ended up being a really good book in the end, especially because I liked the way that like she found it, and then how it all, and then like her father found out about it, and then her dad in the end ends up sending her to medical school in Romania, and because the next book in the series is Hunting Prince Dracula, and he's like, you know what? You should pursue this. Do what you want to do with your life and pursue this. And I'm sending Thomas with you to keep an eye on you. And so like, I just thought that it was like, you know, I was like, yes, send the lady to do what she wants to do because she can and she's allowed to. So I ended up really liking this book. If you like murder mysteries, if you like old-timey type historical books, give it a read. The next book is A Strange Hymn by Laura Thalassia, which is the second book in the Rhapsodic series. And this book I'm giving a 4.75. Like, it wasn't quite the same level as a 5 for when I read the first book, but it was still just so good and near and dear to my heart. Like, so much happens in this book that I it was like almost there. And so in the beginning of the book, Callie is in the Fae world again, and like she gets her first taste is like seeing Des as a king, because like a messenger comes and like delivers all of the heads off of his shoulders, his soldiers that he sent to the Fauna Kingdom after, you know, he kills Karnan, because, you know, he was like raping and stealing people and whatnot, and like stealing Callie. And like he sends him to patrol, and this person comes back and is like, get these people out of our kingdom or else. And Des is like, or else what? Did you forget who I am? And he sends in the Bog, which is like the worst nightmares ever. And so like Callie gets her first taste of seeing Des as a king, and they work on her training because she needs to know how to actually like fight Fae people, because her powers of being a siren don't work on the Fae. So she has to actually learn how to fight for herself. And there's kind of this theory that maybe Carnan isn't the father of all these really weird children because none of the women are waking up, and the children don't have the same traits as Fauna Fae usually do. So they're like, maybe he wasn't the father, but how could he not be the father if, obviously you can see their memories and whatnot. So they're really confused about who else would it be then, and how did it happen, because Carnan was the person doing these things. So they end up having to go to Solstice, which is a really big festival in the Fae realm where they just basically party and get it on for a week. And they have to go to the Flora kingdom, which holds humans as slaves, which Callie obviously does not like. And since they're going to someone else's kingdom, they have to obey their rules. And it's very clear that the Flora queen has a thing for Des and is trying to hook up with him. Also, by the way, this book, spicy. It's spicier than the first book. Just a heads up, spicy book. But she ends up trying to give Callie lilac wine as a present or a gift. And what lilac wine does is it turns someone into a fae, or it gives them immortality. And so Des kind of sees it as a threat to Callie, and that makes everybody get a little bit mad. And Callie starts having this dream where Des kills her in the woods, and she's trying to deal with all this stuff that's coming about. And then in here, there is a scene where Callie steps up and becomes queen in pretty much everybody's eyes, besides the already present royalty, because there is a woman who gets raped, and they try and blame the situation on the woman because she's human, instead of the Flora Fae who do it. And when they go to punish her, Callie takes her punishment. And then, of course, because her punishment is being whipped a bunch of times, and Des comes back and is furious, it all goes to hell in a handbasket. You end up finding out in this book that Desmond's mom was killed by his father because she was a spy, and she got forced to be in his harem. Took Des to leave, that way he wouldn't die at the hands of his father, and his father ends up killing his mom because of that situation, and he had to watch it. And you end up finding out that the person that Callie has been seeing in her dreams is actually Des's father, and that he's not dead. Somehow, some way, he's not dead. The Green Man is the one who's been taking all of these men soldiers and putting them in the trees of the Flora Queen to rot them from the inside out and make her look weak, which makes no sense because the Green Man is the Flora Queen's husband, essentially. So there's a lot that happens in this book, and Callie almost dies at the end, so they have to give her the lilac wine, and so she gets to become immortal. So lots happens in this book. It's really good. I enjoyed it. So 4.75 in my opinion. And then, of course, after that, the next book is The Emperor of the Evening Stars, which is the third book, and this is a little novella that is all about getting Des's backstory. And I also gave this a 4.75. Very good book. Didn't give me everything I needed for it to be a 5-er, but it was still really good. And in here, you learn about him growing up with the Angels of Death, which is the gang that he ended up joining, and he was supposed to be the leader. And you end up finding out why Des had to hide as a kid, because his father started killing people because he heard a prophecy that one of his children was going to kill him, and he didn't want to give up his power. And you end up learning about how he spent so much time in the army and the military fighting people on behalf of his father to try and get closer to him. And then that's how he earned his war bands that are very ever present in the first 2 books. You get his point of view of falling in love with Callie, which is to see it from his point of view. I love getting to see both points of views of them both falling in love with each other. I think books like that are just something a little bit special in my opinion. And so it ends with, of course, the promise of what happened to get the IOU to become soulmates, even though they were already soulmates to begin with. So I'm really happy that I read this one, because originally I was like, I don't need to read this one. It's whatever. I don't need to read it. I'm glad that I read it. I needed to read it. The people on Google telling me that you should read it even though it's just a novella, they were right. You should read it. And then, of course, the last book in the series is Dark Harmony, and I'm giving this one a 5-er. Another 5-star. Forewarning, this one is also very, very spicy. Very spicy. This one's spicier than the second one. They upped the spice factor in each one. So, heads up if that is not your thing. But I did end up giving it a 5 because it was so good. So, like, the opening scene is the sleeping soldiers waking up, and you find, like, the kingdom trying to fight the sleeping soldiers, and you end up finding out that, like, Callie does believe now that the person who stole her, because she originally thought it was King Julius from the Sun Kingdom, or the Kingdom of Day, is the one who stole her from Desmond's backyard, but she ends up figuring out that the Thief of Souls can change his face, and so that's kind of like a hint of, like, who it might be able to be. And so they go to his kingdom, and they kind of, like, try to figure things out, hash things out. They go back to Earth to kind of, like, live out a little happy moment life before they have to go through, like, a giant battle in their minds. And Des asks Callie to marry him, which was so cute. And they do end up getting married in this book, and then Callie figures out who the Thief of Souls is, and, like, once she figures out who it is, Des, like, has already made a deal with him to sacrifice himself, and so that he won't take Callie, and of course Callie's like, that's not happening. I'm coming to get you. Go through the journey of her getting to, like, the darkest place where he resides, which, like, she has to go to the pit in the place of, like, the land of nightmares and go to the bottom of the pit, and then you end up finding out that the Thief of Souls is the primordial god Erebus, which, like, is kind of like all, like, the god of death and, like, chaos, essentially. And it's so good because, like, the shadows betray the god in order for, like, Des to wake back up, and then they end up killing him together, and, like, they just get to live happily ever after, and the book ends with Callie being pregnant. And I was like, one, how can you end a book there? How are you going to end a book there? You're not going to let me see the little family? No? Okay, fine. That's okay. It is what it is. But this was a 5-star book. Like, it hit everything that I needed. It gave me the giggles. It gave me the feels. It was so good. It gave me the feelings of betrayal. And I highly recommend, if you like dark fantasy, romance, fae, it's got it all for you. The next book we have is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi? Not entirely sure how to say it. This book I'm giving a 4. It's kind of set in old-timey England as well, and the premise of it is that this team of people get together to steal this compass, and they do end up doing it. However, and, like, this compass is supposed to have, like, a map to where all of this secret treasure is, because there's 4 houses in the book, and one has fallen. One is Severin's house, which they have, like, erased from the face of the planet, and the others is Hypnos' house, and then there's also another house in here. And in this book, they steal this compass. It's supposed to have a map to where the 4th dead house location was with all of its treasures that nobody could ever find. And they get the compass stolen from them, essentially. So this book is them trying to get that compass back, and it's very much like Six of Crows kind of vibes. It's not as good as Six of Crows, in my opinion, but it gives me those vibes in terms of, like, heist, friendship, and whatnot. And so they go through trying to get it, and a couple people get captured along the way, and one person ends up dying, which made me want to cry because I was like, how could you kill this sweet person? And then like at the end, when they're all together, they're supposed to be going to like a party, and Enrique and Hypnos end up kissing because like there's this tension between the two of them. The whole book, there's this tension, and you're like, is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? And they end up kissing. However, it's so sad because Zofia, she has a crush on Enrique, and she thinks that Enrique likes her back, and it's very possible that he does, and that, you know, just Hypnos beat her to it. But they're all gonna go out to the party together, and like she's very much like a tomboy who doesn't wear dresses, and like she gets all dressed up, she gets ready to go, she's at the top of the stairs, and she sees Hypnos kiss Enrique, and she's like, I'm going back now, like there's no point in me going, because the only reason why she was going was because of Enrique. And I was like, my little heart can't take it. But it was so good. And there is another relationship in here between Lila and Severin, and like they hooked up one time, and they were like, it was a mistake. And I think the reason why they thought it was a mistake is because like it was just such a strong, powerful like connection that happened out of that they were like, no, can't do that. So they like are forcing themselves to be apart from each other, even though there's no reason for it. I mean, there is a reason for it. Layla knows that she's gonna die pretty soon, and she hasn't told anyone else that, and that's why she doesn't want to get attached to anybody. But also it's like, honey, live while you got the living to do. Like, do it. So she ends up getting back at him for everything that's happened by making him take her to this house meeting that happens in Russia, and like he has to take her, and they have to like sleep in the same bed together is the deal. And the thing is that the reason why Severin is doing this is to prove that he is the heir to the house, his house. The reason why his house doesn't exist anymore is because they did the test, which they cut open your palm, and like they touched the magic rings that they had to your blood, and if it lights up blue, then like you're the actual heir, is kind of how that happens. And they did the test, and in his mind they did the test and they faked the results. Like it showed blue, and then they just said that it didn't. So he's trying to become his house again, and now at the end, because he lost his stepbrother, he's like, I don't want it. Like, I don't want it. Like, life, it isn't worth it. It isn't worth it anymore. It was never worth it. And at the end of the book, they're like, it's good that he doesn't want this because he's not the actual heir. And that was the part that kind of got me, because honestly, this book was like, if I had not read A Six of Crows, I think I would have given this a higher rating, but I read Six of Crows, and Six of Crows was just, c'est magnifique. And I think I would have given this a higher rating if I had not read Six of Crows first. Overall, I was like, oh, this is kind of whatever. It's kind of typical. It is what it is. And then that last line, and like the little bits and bobs with like the romance and Tristan dying, really, I want to keep reading the series because I want to know why. I want to know what's going on. How's it happening? Give me the information. So I am going to continue the series. I would give it a 4. Overall, I did like it in the end, so I do recommend. And I would, if you read this before you read Six of Crows, or if you've ever already read this before you read Six of Crows, let me know. Is it a better book if you don't read Six of Crows first? Is Six of Crows just too high of an expectation now to set for other people? Let me know. All right, the next book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And honestly, this book let me down. I'm only giving it a 3.5. I went into reading this book with very high expectations. I was like, I'm going to love this book. It is going to be like chef's kiss. And honestly, I don't know why I went in with such high expectations. I think maybe it was just I really liked the theme and the idea. So I went in with really high expectations, and it didn't hit all those expectations. Like, I just found that the characters were really, like, they were pretty bland. The plot moving forward was pretty bland. Like, it was fine. So this book there's two magicians. There's Celia and Marco, and basically from childhood they're being taught to do all of these magic tricks, and Celia's point of view from her father is like, do these tricks in plain sight and make money off of it, and Marco's mentor's point of view is like, you don't need to be out in the open, you shouldn't be out in the open, and it makes you a lesser magician if you are doing these really tricks and whatnot. And so they're trying to prove who the better magician is, and the circus is the gameplay, and these two people, they create tents in the circus, and that's how they kind of like one-up each other. But Marco ends up falling in love with Celia, even though this other girl was like kind of in love with him. And the way that it ends up all falling apart is Frederick Thureson he meets the person who makes the clock for the circus originally, and he ends up becoming like, I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a group of people who really love the circus, and like they go all the time. Like if it's near them, they go. Even if it's not near them, they go. Like they're just kind of like circus groupies essentially. And like they wear all black, and they wear like a red scarf or like a red flower to like signify that they're part of that group. And him and Celia form a friendship over letters, and like she doesn't let him know who she is and how she's in the circus, and they end up forming this relationship together. And like he ends up dying one night because of her choices and Marco's choices, and it kind of like sets off a catalyst for the circus falling apart, because it's like she just doesn't want to put in the same amount of work and effort that she was putting in to keep the circus afloat. And Marco wants to be with her, and they end up finding out that they can never be together, because when one person wins, the other person dies. And Marco's like, well, you have to win, because I can't live without you. And she's like, well, I can't live without Frederick's presence, and I can't live without you, so you have to win. And I really like how creative it was, because they do end up getting to be together in the end, and I think it's really creative how they made that happen together in the end. So that was kind of what raised my rating of this book. And then I also liked, there's quotes from Frederick throughout, because there's like certain pages that are black that have like quotes from people about the circus, and his quotes hint to how important of a person he's going to be, which I thought was really cool. So that kind of raised the bar too. I also use this book because I'm going to make a video eventually. I'm just throwing all my video ideas to you guys in this video. But I'm making a video about reading books with playlists, because I know some people really like to do that. And I read this book with a playlist a couple times, and I actually found that it enhanced the experience of this book. And I will go into further details on that in that actual video. So clickbait, stay tuned again. I don't think that one will come out until like maybe March, so you're gonna be waiting a while, but it'll be worth it, hopefully. But that is Night Circus. It was a book where I was like, there's nothing pushing the plot in this book. The characters don't really matter to me in this book, because you don't really get a whole lot of them outside of like them building tents and stuff. So, and then you follow this storyline of this random boy who went to the circus once, and he plays a big role in it, but everything is so bland. Like, I didn't feel connected to any of the characters or the plot, really. The last physical book that I read this month was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And if you guys haven't watched my reading wrap up for the year, what are you doing? Watch that video, because this book is in that video. But oh my god, did I love this book. This is a 6-star book. This is a 6-star book in my opinion, and I know that I've heard from a lot of other YouTubers by watching their videos that you either love this book or you don't love this book. And me personally, I don't know how you don't love this book. I guess like some people think that like some of the like dialogue is cringy and that's why they don't like it. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. This book had everything that I needed in my in my little fantasy book reader heart. Like, it is so good. Like, I was 30 pages into this book and I was getting tingles by how booked, like, I was getting the tingles. Like, I was getting like, oh, I was hooked. 30 pages in, hooked, sold. I knew that this was going to be the one, essentially. And it just, it was so good. And like, this has all the dragon content in the world that I could have. This has the bad mamma jammin' killing main characters that I need. It has the I hate you, but I love you so much that I'm gonna do everything in the world for you and disguise it as hate relationship in the world, which is probably kind of toxic. But you know, I was here for it. I was here for it. It reminds me, I'm pretty sure in another reading wrap up, I told you guys about the quote where it's like, women love bad boys because the bad boy will screw the world in order to save you, but the hero will save the world and throw you away without even a second glance. And this book has that all over it, because Dain, okay, if you want to read this book, stop watching. Stop watching right now. Fast forward to I don't know when. I'll put it in the description. Fast forward to the next two books, because I don't want to ruin this book for you if you really want to read this book, because I want you to have the same 6-star experience that I possibly could have had. So, if you want to read this book, don't listen to anything else I have to say. Goodbye. But Dain, oh, I hate him so much. Like, you are just like, oh, like, I just hate that he thinks that she can't do anything for herself. She's just trying to hold him back, and like, he just thinks that she's weak and is not a good best friend at all, or a good love interest, like has no faith in her, is continually trying to get her to leave even after she already has a dragon, like, and then he ends up using her and like basically sends her to her death in the end. And I was like, oh, you, if I knew a Dain in real life, dead, gone, don't want to hear about it. Did he exist? No, he didn't. That is how mad this man made me continuously, which, oh, I hated him. I was like, dude, you have, like, you won't break the rules for her. Like, you won't break any of the rules to save your apparent best friend. Your apparent childhood best friend. You're not going to break any of the rules for her to save her life. What? Ugh. And I think that's just another thing that makes me like Xaden that much more, is because he's willing to break the rules. Like, he's willing to believe her when she says, oh yeah, this wing leader tried to kill me. And he's like, okay, yeah, I believe you. But Dain can't do that. He can't do that. So, and then when they get sent to their deaths, they end up finding out that, because like this book goes through her training, fighting, her and Xaden's kind of relationship, not relationship, her building her relationship with her dragons. And then they go out and they're sent basically to their deaths, and they find out that Varen and wyverns, which are supposed to be myths, are actually real, and that their whole society and their government ignores the fact that they're real and doesn't want to deal with it, and is letting innocent people die because they want to protect themselves, essentially. And it's just a big, huge freaking lie from the get-go, and they end up staying to protect these people, because like they get a decision, like either stay and protect these people and die, or you can travel to this other location where the war games are actually taking place and you'll be fine. And like you end up finding out that Xaden's leading like a revolution to get daggers to kill these creatures to the people that actually need them, because once again the government is pretending like it doesn't exist. And so they end up engaging in fighting, and Liam, who has basically been assigned to Violet the entire time because Xaden wants someone to look over her and like watch her 24/7 because he's in love with her, but he disguises it as like if she dies, he dies, which I mean kind of is true because their dragons are mated to each other, and her and Tyrion's bond are so strong that if she dies, it'll kill Tyrion, which will kill Stilgal, which will kill Xaden. But so he sticks Liam on her, and Liam ends up dying, and I cried. I legitimately cried like a baby. Cried like a baby. Tears, bawling. Oh my god. I've never had a book make me feel this way in a very long time. And then, yeah, in the end, you end up finding out that her brother you thought was dead on the last page, he's alive, and he heals her. And that is the point in this book that I screamed, slammed my book shut so hard that Bean jumped inside her cage and ran around like a chicken with its head cut off. And that's how I knew I had to buy Iron Flame. So, read that book. Read that book. That's my number one recommendation. Read that book. Okay, moving on. I have my 2 audiobooks that I listened to this month, which is The Christmas Fix by Lucy Score, and in this book, I ended up giving it a 2.5. I'm giving it a 2.5 to a 3. I don't like... Actually, you know what? I'm giving it a 2.5. I don't like this book. I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, so essentially what it is she's a reality person who flips houses for a living, and she wants to flip this town because it is near and dear to her heart, and it ends up getting flooded by a hurricane, and it is right before the Christmas season, and the Christmas season is the time that this town makes its most money from tourism because it's known for throwing a really big Christmas festival. And so she's like, I'm gonna save this town by like flipping it and like trying to help better it for the community, and she wants to do it out of the goodness of her own heart. And the person in charge of the town, like funding and whatnot, is like, no, I don't want you coming here and being a diva and like ruining my town and making profit off of my town's misfortune. And she is like, dude, I'm trying to help this community. Like, she ends up and goes and like saves people from the hurricane flooding, and he doesn't realize it. And like pretty much his whole opinion is based around the fact that she got into a bar fight the last time she was in town. That's why he hates her so much and thinks that she's such a diva, is because she got into a bar fight the last time she was in town, and she's a reality TV star. And like all of this opposition, like, you're not going to have someone come into your town for free and fix it. That way you can make money and your citizens have places to live. Like, just all because of that just infuriated me. It made me really angry in the first place that was the whole issue. Like, all of the issues in this book are communication issues. Like, the reason why she punched that dude at the bar is because he grabbed her butt after she already had told him no and to not. So, like, it's all just stupid, petty communication issues that is the reason why this book has an issue, which I just don't like. And then, like, he just thinks that she's really flippant and whatever, and, like, is a terrible influence and is just mean to her for no reason throughout the entire book, continuously. And then, like, her friends sit him down at the bar and get him drunk and are like, you got her all wrong, man. Like, did you see this that she did? Did she do this? Like, do you see how hard that she's working? Like, she actually does the work on these houses, like, yada, yada, yada. And then he suddenly has a change of heart, and then they just start going at each other like dogs after that. The next quarter of the book is basically just them having sex the entire time. So, yeah, not for me, because, like, just the problems in here are really superficial that I feel like 2 adults could have just had a conversation about maybe, and there wasn't a need to read this book. And then I don't mind when books are spicy, because obviously, like, I read the Rhapsodic series, which is spicy. This has some spice in it. I forgot to tell you, this has some spice in it. But, like, when it doesn't further the plot, it's just in there to be in there. Not my content that I want to be reading with my books. So yeah, I give this one a 2.5. Like, not my cup of tea. Mad that I read it. It is what it is. And then the last book that I have to talk about is The 12 Dates of Christmas, which I actually liked. I gave this one a 4.5, and it's the main character, whose name I cannot think of right now. Basically, she is living in this tiny town. She was dating someone for a long time, and then they ended up breaking up. And her friend decides that it's time for her to get out there and start dating again. And how she does it is she signs her up for a dating service, and you have a date every week for 12 weeks leading up to Christmas. And then, like, the last date, you can pick whoever you want to go out with, like, because they kind of like pair you up with people, and you just go through this book with her going on her dates, and like her best friend has a girlfriend, and you end up finding out that honestly they're kind of like in love with each other, and they've been in love with each other for like a really long time, and you end up finding out that there could have had a possibility to be something more in college, and that's why they haven't spoken for so long before her dad got sick, because her mom left her dad for the salesperson, and apparently her mom has been cheating on her dad for like ever. And it's just really cute. It's really wholesome, and it's just really cute. It was really cute. It was just a good, simple, sweet romance story. So I highly recommend, if you just want a romance story or like a Christmas story next year, The 12 Dates of Christmas, totally highly recommend that book. And of course they end up with each other in the end. So these are all of my books for December. Tell me, what did you feel about them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Would you read any of these books now that I've told you about it? Like, fourth thing. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Let me know if there's any content you want me to make in the new year. I do have a giant book haul that I'm going to be doing 2 weeks from now, I think, is when that video should go live. And you guys, you gotta let me know, how should I be picking my TBR from now on? Because like, it used to be I bought books in such small quantities that I could be like, oh yeah, like I'll just read what I'll read them in order of how I bought them. Now that I have so many books, I don't know what to read next. Like, obviously anything that's in a series that I've already read, I'll finish up the series first, but like, I don't know how to choose my in-betweener books anymore. Like, I've seen some people do scratch-offs. Sarah just put up a video about that, which I haven't watched the video yet, but I think that's really cool. And she usually will have people pick it out from Instagram. Like, she'll put 2 books and she'll like cover them and put emojis, and then like whoever wins the emoji poll wins, which I think that's cool, but I don't think I have enough followers on my Instagram, and I kind of just want to keep my Instagram for my own personal use as opposed to like channel use. So let me know if you guys have any good ideas about how I should be picking my TBR. Should I just put up photos and throw a dart? Let me know. But that is all for this one. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!